a casting couch situation. That shit's just not, in Hollywood. Yeah, no, it's fucking everywhere. So it's a lot to navigate. And so I am getting back into it.
Can you bust out a note right now? Some kind of opera, something.
Sure, yeah.
Get on that mixer, Robo.
I just never saw it up front.
I know.
So
We actually have a few.
There's a few clips.
I'm putting my shit on. There we go. Oh, shit, dude. Did not expect that to come out of you.
I didn't expect that
Holy
either.
shit, man.
There you go.
That's what she said.
Hey. Not a euphemism either.
So how deep were you into it? Like before COVID and all that kind of shit? Like were you performing a lot doing opera?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, the first thing I ever produced before Metal Grade was a full-length ass opera by David Chesky, a modern new piece. And it was commissioned and done at Brooklyn Music School, and that was my very much Fisher-Price, my first time producing anything, which that is a whole different gambit in itself. But I survived, and it did happen, and no one died, and the show successfully ran for the weekend it was scheduled. And yeah, I was very much kind of, fixated on making that my main career, and I still am. It's just been on the back burner because of the pandemic and because of interpersonal relationships that I had within certain groups where I was like, I don't know if I want to keep subjecting myself to this because of, creepy factors, in that regard.
Yeah, but not that many people could do that shit, though. That was amazing.
No, thank you. And this is where, the hard part of what I say of, opera, then losing this whole line of idea of what it should be. Because I grew up, when I was in both undergrad and grad school, I probably, if I had a nickel for every time someone said, you would be great in West Side Story, I would not need to, I would be in Fiji right now. I would be super rich and just off of that comment alone. But my point is that's from, people seeing me as a Latina. I'm half Puerto Rican, Mexican, Native American, for those who want to know. It's a very, very commonly question that I get asked here. Anyway, but that is the point in that they only have an idea of what certain, repertoire I should be singing. And that shit's got to change. So with that sort of frustration in mind, and also in the same fact of because in competitions I would get notes of oh, there's such a big voice from a tiny person. Cool. But, then again of the idea of, and this is why I'm a mezzo-soprano to be specific. And what that means is I specialize in pants roles. And because of my height, why this, I mentioned that, so I am very good at specializing in playing horny teenage boys. Yes.
Me too.
So we get along so well, boss. For that, it put me in a box of these are the only roles that I can look at. And that also comes from, as I said too, from other teachers being I can't, no one will cast you because of X, Y, and Z, which again, bullshit, because it's make believe. Even if it's out of context of, history, which a lot of stories are in the opera canon, but still either way, the biggest issue right now is, I shouldn't even have to be saying this, but one specific example of how much opera still has its head in its ass is they still let stars like Anna Netrebko, who is a prominent Russian soprano, and while talented, very delusional. And
Is that fat dude with the beard?
No, that's Pavarotti.
Okay.
You got one opera singer. You got to throw it out.
Listen, at least you knew one.
Yeah.
But she insists on doing blackface or brownface when she does Aida, which Aida is an opera that takes place in Egypt. And so there's still, the Royal Opera House in London just had their first African-American Othello. That, yeah,
Really?
your face of, really? That in 2020? Yes, really.